This is the Queen of Politics edition of The Aaron Cruz Show, the political weekly wrap-up that packs a punch with your host, Aaron Cruz.
Hi there, good evening, and welcome to The Aaron Cruz Show, coming to you from Palm Springs, California. This is the Queen of Politics. I'm your hostess, Aaron Cruz. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's topic, it's a doozy. I know you love hearing that one. Basically, we are going to talk about the craziness that we've been seeing going on. Congress and Trump and everybody else seems to be out of their mind and completely misplaced in terms of Obamacare. And why is that? So we're going to talk about that tonight. I'm really excited. First, though, I think it's important to mention something. So I just got a notification that there is a missing child alert. Now, if Charlotte, so I want to give you a little bit of information. This is in Charlotte, North Carolina, okay? The missing child is 16 years old. He's a good-looking chap. The parents are very concerned. He's been missing since October 9th. Let me pull up the story here for you to give you a little bit more information. You may have already actually heard this. You may have gotten the Amber Alert on your phone. Basically, it's Nathan, N-A-T-H-A-N, Kochmond, K-O-C-M-O-N-D. He disappeared on October 9th. His family says the FBI is now involved and that he may have crossed the North Carolina state lines. I will go ahead and I will post a link in the comment section so you can look up and see a picture of this young man who is now missing. He's a good-looking boy. Looks like he's involved at school activities. If you have seen him, okay, Nathan Ward Kochmond, all right, call Crime Stoppers at 704-334-1600 or simply call 911. If you know anything about his disappearance, if you have information that might help. Apparently, it's Mecklenburg Police Department, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, who it was reported to that he was missing. Basically, it says here from their police department, the release says Tuesday, October 10th, 2017, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, as of October 9th, 2017, this boy's been missing. Basically, officers have responded. Oh gosh, this is just, it's so disturbing. So apparently he operates a silver 2011 Honda CR-V. Anyone who has information about him, please contact charlottecrimestoppers.com, call 911, or the number I had listed. The parents would be ever so grateful. Let me see if there's another phone number on here that might be useful. There's another phone number. It's 704-336-4978. That's 704-336-4978. Again, if you've seen this Nathan Ward Kochmond 2011 Honda CR-V, silver in color. It says North Carolina plates. He looks to be a responsible young man, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Apparently, the parents are providing a $5,000 reward for information leading to his Nathan's whereabouts. Now, Patriots, I know it's not about the money. It's about these young people in America. So please make sure that if you have information, you contact them. There's another phone number here. Please contact Barefoot Professional Investigations. If you have any information, it looks like they've hired their own investigative team. 704-377-1000. That's 704-377-1000. It says here that he was last seen at 7345 Kennington Court. It says his race is white, he's male, he's 5'11", average weight, and his date of birth is 5/29/2001. His blue-eyed, brown hair. He was seen as his last as residence, and the license plate number is PAH 3753. Has an Auburn sticker and an F3 sticker on the back window. Mr. Cockman was last seen wearing a green Led Zeppelin shirt with black and red Adidas shorts with white stripes. White strips, this says. Again, I'll go ahead and I'll put the information about this in the comments. I'm looking at these photos, and some of them, he just doesn't look happy, but he also, at the very, he looks like he's very involved in his community and in his school. So he's only 16 years old, so please help if you can. It also looks like I'm scrolling through because he's one of our own. He's one of our children. I have a 21-year-old and 23-year-old child here with me. I can't imagine if my own children went missing. It would be upsetting. In any case, apparently he is missing and diagnosed with a concussion, the parents say. So I'm not sure what's happening there. The mother did a plea to try to get him, information on where he might be. So if you have any information about this child, please go ahead and call those numbers I provided to you. I'm just pulling up the YouTube here to see if it had any additional information. It looks like it's a news report. So I'll go ahead and I'll leave that there. And we'll get back to our show. So it's always disturbing, though. This day and age, you just don't know why children might go missing. Could be something nefarious. It could be, he just had a concussion and doesn't know where he is, and who knows. But you just hope for the best, and that he would be returned to his family. So something's amiss, that's for sure. If we're talking about this missing youth, or maybe some of the other struggles we're having in the nation, what I really wanted to talk about tonight for the Queen of Politics, because we like to have a little bit more fun on the Queen of Politics. I know that was kind of a down note, but it's important to bring up topics of the day, especially if it can go to helping bring the family back together. But what I also want to talk about is the ACA, tax reform, and Democrats. I just saw Trump do the most amazing thing. Out of his mind is basically what I'm seeing from people across the nation. They just say how could he do this? How could he sign an executive order pulling back some of the portions of Obamacare? I just don't know how he could do it. And then I have people saying, well, he shouldn't be doing that. We should use proper process. Well, I have a very difficult time with this, because it's hard for me to sit here and listen to Democrats moan and groan about President Trump writing directives and executive orders when their own Barack Obama sat there and did just that same thing for 8 years. Please tell me what the difference is. Is it the color of his skin? Is it the fact that he's a billionaire and now he's ordering people around, or somehow going around Congress? I'm going to tell you, I am not thrilled about executive orders. I will be the first one to say that there's a time and a place for the president to be able to write such things. Mainly, and most importantly, they would not have to do with any sort of legislation, and certainly aren't, I don't know if you'd call them law. it's the duty and responsibility of Congress to put forth, the duty and the responsibility of Congress to put forth these policies, put them onto President Trump's desk and to President Trump to sign them into law, right? So we see, and I'm going to scroll down here, presidential actions. We are going to scroll down to executive orders, and we are going to look this bad boy right in the eye. Okay? Well, here it is. Here it is. If we scroll down. Oh, it's so... I just want to know where people think that, President Trump can't roll back any kind of legislation that was put forth, or at least impart some knowledge onto the law, or some kind of inkling of leaning towards those laws. I know, I am a freedom-based person. I am a policy and a law-based person. If it's been signed into law, we need to follow the laws, enforce the laws. I get that. Boy, do I ever. However, as we look down, see, I can't even find, this is the thing that gets me, I can't find the executive order. You want to know why? Because it's put under presidential memoranda. Yep, I'm going to let you know. It's put under presidential memoranda. And so, as we look, and we see the presidential executive order under presidential memoranda, promoting healthcare choice and competition across the state lines. Ding, 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 ding. We are going to open this bad boy up. We're going to scroll down. It's not too long. As I look down, I've read this earlier, but I scrolled through it real kind of quick like. Now, if we look down and we look to Section 2, I want you to go ahead and pull this up. I'm going to put it in the comments. You look at the Section 1, you look at the policy. It says, the first line, Section 1, policy, A, it shall be the policy of the executive branch to the extent consistent with law. I'll repeat that. To the extent consistent with law to facilitate the purchase of insurance across state lines and the development and operation of healthcare system that provide for high quality care at affordable prices for the American people. Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, PPACA, however, has severely limited the choice of healthcare options available to many Americans and has produced large premium increases in many state and individual markets for health insurance. The average exchange premium in the 39 states that are using healthcare.gov in 2017 is more than double the average overall individual market premium recorded in 2013. The PPACA has also largely failed to provide meaningful choice and competition between insurers, resulting in 1/3 of American counties having only one insurer offering coverage to their applicable government-run exchange in 2017. This is important to note, extremely important to note. First of all, in Section 1, in A, it says, to the extent consistent with law, to purchase insurance across state lines, and development and operation of a healthcare system. Now look, the second thing to note here is that it also states that it's talking about government-run exchanges, healthcare.gov. I don't know about you. You may be on a state-run exchange. You may be on Obamacare. I personally am on an employer-based healthcare plan. So now, as it expands, it says, Section B, among the myriad ideas where current regulations limit choice and competition, my administration will prioritize 3 areas for improvement in the near term: association health plans, AHPs, short-term limited duration insurance, STLDI, and health reimbursement arrangements, HRAs. Okay, large employers, this is section 1 of B. So section B1. Large employers often are able to obtain better terms on health insurance for their employees than small employers because of their large pools of insurable individuals across which they can spread risk and administrative costs. Expanding access to AHPs can help small businesses overcome this competitive disadvantage by allowing them to group together, self-insure, or purchase large group health insurance. Expanding access to AHPs will also allow more small businesses to avoid many of the PPACA's costly requirements. Expanding access to AHPs would provide more affordable health insurance options to many Americans, including hourly wage earners, farmers, and employees of small businesses and entrepreneurs that fuel economic growth. Now, before I go further, right now we are talking about Something's Amiss, the ACA, tax reform, and Democrats, okay? We're talking about the memorandum. It's put under memorandum, the executive order, which was signed by President Trump today, outlining health care provisions. Now, I would like to, if you're just joining us now, I would like to just stress that we're reading this. And the reason why we are reading this is because all of the information that is being provided to you via the front page of every website that you go on to go log into your email or whatever it might be is feeding you detailed mush. You need to read it for yourself. And if you don't agree with executive orders or memorandum, what this basically said in the very beginning, if you were just joining us, is to the extent consistent with law, okay, to purchase insurance across state lines. Now, my concern is this, is he's talking about healthcare.gov. He's talking about the exchanges. Now, look, when he's talking about this, he's gone into expanding, because employers, basically what we've already just read right here, is he's talking about how employers, large employers in particular, have the ability to leverage the costs of employee programs because they're large. They have these pools. Now, pools are built to protect the insurance companies. Now, you may say, oh, insurance companies don't need protection. Look, they have costs they have to cover. Insurance companies only have about a 3% profit margin. Those numbers are huge, but they also have to protect risk. And with baby boomers coming into their golden years here and other generations coming up who, maybe couldn't afford health care before, now they have it. I mean, there is a good group of people here that have needs, okay? And so these insurance companies know how much it's going to cost to take care of the people there. They're guarding. What they're guarding against, and why the premiums, I believe, have gone up, is because a lot of people are coming in who've had no health care. And so that is risky, because then you have to cover, maybe it's a pre-existing condition. Well, people have been given the opportunity to get care for pre-existing conditions. That costs a lot of money. So, it's insurance is a gamble, and they're gambling on the fact that they have a certain amount of money to spend, and they have these individuals who are going to need care, and what they're going to cover and what they can't, aren't going to cover. And so they have to CYA too, if you will. So, but the concern here is that he's writing this executive order so for just to protect, or just to actually allow the private, I would say the entrepreneurs, maybe self-employed, and small businesses, hourly wage earners, and it says farmers, okay? So basically people who wouldn't be in those large employer groups who have the lower premiums. Now, my concern there, okay, is that these people who are in those large companies, as we saw with major corporations like Starbucks and others, they kind of pushed their employees out of their groups and kind of pushed them on to Obamacare. And, remember when that all became mandatory, and so I find it interesting that it's not addressing those people that are, and I guess it does, hourly wage earners, but It's very generic. It really doesn't talk about, you know, it doesn't talk too much about the specifics of it. So it should be interesting to see how that all rolls out. So now we're going to read down section B, section 1, B 2. STLDI is exempt from the onerous and expensive insurance mandates and regulations, including Title I of the PPACA. This can make it an appealing and affordable alternative to government-run exchanges for many people without coverage available to them through their workplaces. The previous administration took steps to restrict access to this market by reducing the allowable coverage period from less than 12 months to less than 3 months, and by preventing extensions selected by the policyholder beyond 3 months of total coverage. Now, this is sticky. And the reason why I say this is sticky is because, you know, what we're looking at here, it's an affordable alternative to government-run exchanges for many people without coverage available to them through their workplaces. Is he saying there that what he's going to do is he's going to open up kind of the market as a whole? Okay? I mean, the government-run exchanges aren't working. So I get why they want to, open this up. I'm just not sure how this is going to take place. So section 3, HRAs are tax-advantaged, account-based arrangements that employers can establish for employees to give employees more flexibility and choices regarding their health care. Expanding the flexibility and use of HRAs will provide many Americans, including employees who work at small businesses, with more options for financing their health care. Look, I'm going to tell you this, that the average person who pretty much makes an hourly minimum wage, okay, hourly minimum wage from a small business is more than likely not going to be able to afford to put food on their table and pay for healthcare mandatory. So this is my concern, is where is this going to address mandates? Because I'm going to tell you, people who are just making that minimum wage, I don't know that they necessarily can afford healthcare premiums, even with a large employer. I mean, I saw it. I worked for a very large employer, and sometimes, in many cases, even if now, some people had subsidized healthcare, premiums from their employer paid part, employee paid part. They still made it very difficult. It was very, very prohibitive. I mean, in terms of the cost. So many people didn't opt to have health insurance for that reason. And one of the issues there is then people are maybe not getting the care they need, or maybe the physicals they need, and addressing issues earlier on and preventative care and such, and then therefore it's going to cost us more in terms of us, meaning insurance companies, more in the long run, overall driving premiums up because of risk. So I get why the mandates are there in terms of making sure that everybody has coverage so they can go get care, but that does not mean that Joe Schmo is going to, 1, be able to afford the coverage, and 2, that he's going to be able to go and get care, because many of those coverages still require out-of-pocket costs that are very, very steep. So I think that needs to be addressed as well, and so nobody's really talking about that. And then now we're going to move on to C, and we can talk about that at a later date on Political Core, maybe next Tuesday, as more information rolls out, because what we have right now is just a baseline. So C, my administration will also continue to focus on promoting competition in healthcare markets and limiting excessive consolidation throughout the healthcare system to the extent within law. To the extent third time's the charm. To the extent consistent with law. There you go. So, it says then further, government rules and guidelines affecting the United States health system should. Now, this is the guidelines, and it has to be consistent with law. 1, expand the availability and access to alternatives to expensive mandate-laden PPACA insurance, including AHPS, STLDI, and HRAs. Still, again, if you're in that lower income bracket, I just don't know how much people are going to be able to afford. 2, re-inject competition into healthcare markets by lowering barriers to entry, limited limiting excessive consolidation, and preventing abuses of market power. And 3, improve access to and the quality of information that Americans need to make informed healthcare decisions, including data about healthcare prices, outcomes, while minimizing reporting burdens after the fact on affected plans, providers, or payers. Now, this area bothered me, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay? I'm not sure if we have an issue of quality of information that Americans need to make informed healthcare decisions. As far as employers are concerned, okay, employers basically cannot guide you. They have to provide you the information, and the employee has to look at the information and determine which plan is best for them. There is a good, I guess I get the quality of information, but there is a good amount of information already being provided. I guess if we could consolidate the information to a point where maybe regular Joe Schmo can understand it and definitely know what kind of out-of-pocket money we're talking about, that might help, just say, those lower income wage earners, because a lot of people just don't know what they're getting into. They're being told they have to buy a plan, they have to be, this or that or the other. They may qualify for Obamacare, and they apply, but they see then now they have this huge premium. And what we've seen, I know in a couple of cases, I talked to one person and they said actually they received a little bit of money back when they filed their taxes. I talked to one other person and they said they owed more because so I think people, in order to plan their lives, they really do need that component of understanding what the price is, what the outcome is. I would say more what the coverages are, because a lot of times what I've seen is that the coverages aren't as much, and people are put at risk because they're realizing that this, suddenly they need care, but then the deductibles have gone up so much that people just can't afford it. And so hopefully maybe this competition across state lines will help. But let's go on to Section 2. Expanded access to association health plans. Within 60 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Labor shall consider proposing regulations or revising guidance consistent with law to expand access to health coverage by allowing more employers to form AHPs. To the extent permitted by law and supported by sound policy, the Secretary should consider expanding the conditions that satisfy the commodity of interest requirements under the current Department of Labor advisory opinions interpreting the definition of employer. Okay, under Section 3.5 of the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, the Secretary of Labor should also consider ways to promote AHP formation on the basis of common geography or industry. I'm telling you, some of this is great, and I could be wrong, but this Section 2 reminds me, and I talked about this with a good friend of mine online last week or the week before, the Secretary shall, in this case, the Secretary should. So in Obamacare, there are a whole bunch of, 1,000 or more directives given to the Secretary. Okay, why can't we just, as she said it so clearly, death by paper cut, go through and have the Secretary essentially dismantle certain portions of Obamacare, freeing up the market? I get that Trump is wanting to kind of revise the definition of employer because it might loosen some of the regulations there. I'm just not certain that might be the best mode to do this. Now, I could be wrong. It's when he says the Secretary of Labor should also consider ways to promote AHP formation on the basis of common geography or industry. I mean, why not just open up AHP to the point where it's not so specific, and I could be wrong, but and maybe it's too loose, and they need some certain definition in order to operate But I just feel like this section is a concern to me, especially when you mess with the definition of employer. And there are many reasons why I believe that, and you might already have kind of gleaned an image from what I'm saying based on that. So definitions affect a lot of things, and so when you're talking about having them interpret and define further employer, I just think it's going to open up more areas than just healthcare reform to maybe either scrutiny or a little bit more gray area. But anyway, let's go on to Section 3. Expanded availability of short-term limited duration insurance. Expanded availability of short-term limited duration insurance. Within the 60 days of the date of this order, the Secretaries of the Treasury, Labor, and Health and Human Services shall consider proposing regulations or revising guidance consistent with law to extend the availability of STLDI. To the extent permitted by law and supported by sound policy, the Secretaries should consider allowing such insurance to cover longer periods and be renewed by the consumer. Now, short-term limited duration insurance, one, government is requiring and has mandates. You have to pay to play. Everybody has to pay. Everybody has to play. And that right there, whether you look at short-term limited duration insurance or what have you, I mean, you know what? We have way too much government. Government is reaching too far into areas it shouldn't. One of them is our healthcare. And yes, the insurance markets need, definitions to operate by so that way consumers are protected. But we are consumers. We should be let purchase as individuals or as employees plans which are meet our needs. Mandates, I don't agree with mandates. So let's go on before I go on a tirade about it. Section 4, expanded availability and permitted use of health reimbursement arrangements within 120 days of the date of this order. Now, we're talking 120 days. It's 30, 60, 90, 4 months. We're talking next year already, okay? I mean, I get these things have to roll out, but we are already then 1 year into the presidency. This is going to impact. These policies are going to greatly impact, our midterms. Don't doubt that this isn't a play into that. So please keep an eye on these different sections and how they may be affecting different areas of the populace, and that may affect our voter rolls here. Okay, so Section 4, expanded availability, permitted use of health reimbursement arrangements within 120 days of the date of this order. Secretaries of the Treasury, Labor, and Health and Human Services shall consider proposing regulations or revising guidance to the extent permitted by law and supported by sound policy to increase usability of HRAs, to expand employers' ability to offer HRAs to their employees and allow HRAs to be used in conjunction with non-group coverage. Okay, this is something that I have a concern for. People who are able to do HRAs are probably going to be individuals who are either working middle class or middle class, okay? I don't know anybody in the bottom tier who actually would have money to put away for an HRA, okay? Unless they had a plan so far ahead. Most of them are younger people. Unless they had, the ability to do so, I just would see more that they would be, maybe in a looser, less coverage type plan, might be more flexible for them because they might not have a lot of expenses. Now, people who would benefit might be people who are middle-aged with children, and that's going to be very attractive to them for many different reasons. And I'm not disagreeing with opening up the market and allowing the consumers to determine what better way to use their money, because it's their money. But again, that goes back to mandate. Why force everybody to have health insurance? It does not equal care. Having health insurance does not equal care. Having health insurance does not equal quality care. Having quality health insurance does not mean quality care. Okay? It means you have health insurance. It means you have to have health insurance. Mandated. And until we get rid of that, I think we open up state lines and some other things, I think we're going to have serious issues. Section 5, public comment. The Secretary shall consider and evaluate public comments on any regulations proposed under Section 2 through 4 of this order. Oh, I'm not going to touch that with this 10-foot pole. But I think it's important that yes, they need to listen to what the public are saying. But I'm just, some of these issues that in some of these areas which are being opened up and re-regulated where permitted by law aren't going to even take place for another 60, 90, or 120 days. It's going to be hard to see what the public say about it until it's affected in their wallet. And the fact of the matter is, you're going to hear a lot of hot air, and I'm trying to be careful what I say today, because you're going to hear a lot of hot air about what this is going to do, what that's going to do. We don't really know what impact this is going to have until it's done. And Pelosi said that. We don't, we're not going to know what's in it until you pass it. Okay, well, in a way, that's true, because you don't know how it's going to go through. I mean, yes, you know what the policy says, but how is it going to really impact, the insurance marketplace and insurance segments of our economy? I mean, it's a big play. It takes time to trickle through. So we're going to have to watch it. So then now Section 6, reports within 180 days of the date of this order and every 2 years thereafter, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, in consultation with the Secretaries of the Treasury, Labor, and the Federal Trade Commission, shall provide a report to the President that A, details the extent to which existing state and federal laws and regulations and guidance, requirements, and policies fail to conform to the policies set forth in Section 1 of this order. B, identifies actions that states or federal government could take in furtherance of the policies set forth in Section 1 of this order. Okay, so that means they have 60, 90, and 120 days, and then within 180 days of the order, and every 2 years thereafter, they're going to want a report on Section 1. Well, in Section 1, I guess you could say that it's not the 120 days, but it looks like, let's take a look here. See, it doesn't even say. So is Section 1, okay, is Section 1 immediate? It doesn't say. Let's take a look here. Okay. It doesn't say. It doesn't say any timeline for Section 1 to be put in place. I guess it would be immediately. That is a concern. So as we look at this Section 6, okay, as we look at this Section 6, and it says 180 days is the date of this order, how long is it going to take for them to go ahead and follow through on this? Government is so redundant and thick-headed that we don't even have a lot of the numbers from when since Obamacare was put in place, except for the fact that we know the aftermath of it. And in that particular policy, there was all sorts of reporting that was supposed to be done. So the biggest thing is not that within 180 days of this order and every 2 years thereafter that they provide this report. The more important part is that we make them provide the report and follow through and get the information we need, because really 180 days, that's so many months out. I think we're going to know within 3 to 6 months, 3 months, whether or not these revisions or adjustments make any impact in our insurance market and our populace. So hopefully we don't wait for 180 days. But in any case, let's go down to Section 7, General Provisions. A, nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect 1, the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof. Ooh, look at that. I hate to say it, but that's a ding, ding, ding right there. And number 2, the functions of the director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to the budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. I'm no expert on, I know a lot, and I understand the way our branches of government work. I get it. I understand the information behind that. Now, what this is kind of leaning to me to say is that, and I could be wrong, but basically it says the functions of the Director of Office Management and budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. If you recall, when we passed Obamacare, it had to be passed in the House and then the Senate, and that's because it affects money. Okay, so what is this saying? That generally nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the functions of the Director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to the budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. So if nothing in this executive order can impact that, then is this order then void? I'm really trying to wrap my mind around that. Okay, Section 7B, this order should be implemented and consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. Well, there you go. And C, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its department, agencies, entities, its officers, employees, agents, or any other person, Donald J. Trump. Do you want to know what I just read? I just read, we are the government. We are here to help. Hand us your wallet, but don't ask us what we're doing with it, and don't hold us responsible. That's what that just said to me. Out of this entire executive order, Section 7C is the biggest problem. Look, if government is forcing citizens to buy health care through its own markets or otherwise, it should be responsible and held accountable for the costs increase personally and legislation that's behind it. Look, if I want a plan, I should be able to buy a plan. If I'm young and I can't afford these beefed up, pudgy plans, I should be able to buy a plan that provides for regular physical and basic health care. Okay, simple. If something happens and for whatever reason I'm sick and I need to have more coverage, then I should be able to do so. Why not? Mandating insurance is a bad deal for Americans. Mandating that you have to have certain levels of insurance is a bad deal for Americans. Government mandating anything and then saying, no, you can't hold us responsible, that's a bad deal for America. That's just my 2 cents. And that's the Queen of Politics for you. I want to go ahead and I want to give you the information so you can call your congressperson. I want to ask you and implore you to push them for tax reform. I know they're in the middle of it. I would also like to suggest that you go ahead and you take a look at what the Democrats are saying and saying, don't EO us to death, President Trump, when they're Obama. Go ahead, and he did it the whole 8 years he was there. I have a problem with hypocrites, and that's what they're doing. They're saying don't do one thing, they did another. So, take it with a grain of salt. The number to Congress is 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121, house.gov, senate.gov. You can also look up other resources on my website, erincruz.com, or send emails and inquiries to info@erincruz.com. Be sure to like me on social media and our show. We have a lot of things going on. I have my book coming out, Revolution America. It's going to be out soon. And please go ahead and sign up for our mailing list so you get on the Insider's Connection, which will give you everything you need to know. about the book tour, signings,